Hello and welcome back. Or if this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Jeff.
My name is Ruby, and in today's episode, we are going to be diving deep, talking about all things tending to your creative fire. What is burnout? What does it mean? And also pondering on the question of what if burnout is an invitation for you to bloom and reframing it not as failure, but for you to live and move towards a more embodied and soul aligned life.
I love that. We're also going to talk about honoring the transitions in your life. And we both share our own personal examples of the micro moments leading up to big life changes and transitions. So if you're up for it, grab some tea, get yourself comfortable, or grab your headphones and take us for a walk. Enjoy the show.
Yes, there is a very special invitation at the end, so be sure to stay tuned. And as always, if you like, comment, share, and subscribe, we greatly appreciate that. And we'll see you on the other side. What if we talked about tending to the creative flame? Because sometimes we burn out, especially because there's the burnout from the emotional exhaustion. There's the burnout from doing all the things, the busy, the hustle culture, and then the physical, the emotional, the mental. And then I think there's also the burnout of like you get this spark, this idea, this something that lights you up, but you apply those same like pedal to the metal and
Yeah. You
you
burn
burn
out.
it
You don't
out.
listen to your
The
body,
inspiration. Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What's what's your experience with tending to the creative flame? Do you feel like you've ever met the edge of that burnout, that kind of experience? What did you learn?
Yeah, I feel like I am often teetering with that because I can have this like hyper focus, like I want to get it done and in one sitting, which isn't realistic. And I feel like you've really helped me uh, tend to this flame that like it's not going to go anywhere. Like the seed that was
Mhm.
planted, it's there, and like knowing like the different phase of it being like you have this seed, you're going to plant it. Where are you planting it? Letting it germinate, and like is that the proper
Yeah,
term?
germinate.
And like not needing every little second to peek at it to see if it's growing and like trusting that it is and continuing to show up every day, whether you water it, whether you put it close to the light, whether like,
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like life is about showing up
mm-hmm.
and doing the best I can on that day. And I have this, I've over the years, I've really cultivated intentionally what I want to do, what feels good, and then there's a balance of that. And I mean, recently, and since we've been together, I've definitely shifted my focus more to business, to growing my business, to leaning into the business identity as opposed to the facilitator, coach, healer space that I feel is naturally my arena.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes it's not comfortable. Like it's there is an edge to that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that fire very intensely. That's why I couldn't keep giving to that. I have to take breaks. I have to take care of myself. I know that.
Mm-hmm. So with the breaks, what are other ways that you tend to this
Write it down,
fire?
write stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
When I have that creative spark, like for example, yesterday when I was on a run, I had 3 or 4 or 5 moments where I pulled my phone out and was recording voice note about or making a note about what I wanted. But then I have to also be measured in that I know the way my mind works is like there it's like a fire hydrant. It's not a kitchen faucet. So it's been a maturation process for me to know that that's not all going to get done tomorrow.
Yeah.
As much as I want it, it's not going to get done tomorrow. And it's like that, I have to also tend to the fact that the idea is exciting and inspiring. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the process of bringing that to life is monotonous and like boring in a way. Like it's like the doing the work part that I can get stuck into, and I've had to be patient with myself to create flow in that space. It's just like a yoga class, really. It's like teaching a yoga class or practicing a yoga class. Like the first time I ever practiced or first time I ever taught, it felt clunky.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like for me, like the working stuff, like I think you get into a workflow really easily, and you're like, no, don't take me away from my workflow. And I'm like, we gotta go for a walk. I'm about to lose my mind.
What was so it's like it's such a good point, because there's like $1 million ideas are a dime a dozen, but really it's like I think Steve Jobs said something of like it's not about like getting all these $1 million ideas, but the one that you can stick with
Mm-hmm.
longer, further, and continue to
Refine it, right?
refine. Yeah. And I'm wondering how do you like decipher, and if there was a moment in your life where it like was like that's what I need to do and that you've continued to.
Okay, yeah. So much for I consider that there's a difference between information and wisdom. Steve Jobs, when he gave that quote, he was speaking from his own wisdom. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure the way his mind was, he had brilliant ideas and he grappled with the same thing and had the realization that I've got to create a team. I've got to build something around this because same thing for me. I get so much I've gotten so much of my own of that kind of wisdom through spiritual practice, through yoga, meditation, where it's like consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Do that, just show up. In early days when I first created my morning space for movement and meditation and breathing practice, my mantra was like, if I do this, I can let the rest take care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that that's like yeah, a way that you avoid or prevent burning out?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'd say also there's the burnout from wheel spinning.
Mm-hmm. I know that one
The
well.
the wheel spinning burnout is
Yeah.
it could be the most common burnout,
Yeah.
especially amongst like budding entrepreneurs or somebody who wants to take their passion and make a business out of that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, dang, there's so much of like milestone skills and other things that aren't necessarily your passion that it's just like, where do I start? And spinning wheels commence.
Mm-hmm. When or how did you know that you wanted to be in the wellness space?
I love that question.
You
It chose me. It really did. I know
say
it
it
sounds,
about everything.
it's true though, about everything that chose me. It's true. Um,
But that's beautiful. I love it because there's something just like so magnetic to that. Like, of course it chose me. Like, of course it came to me.
I remember telling a friend we were waiting on a bus in France, of all places. I told her that I love to do spin classes,
To
to partake,
okay.
to and I thought at the time I thought that was such a quirky thing about me. Like I was coming from the macho, like who's a guy to do spin classes? But I didn't think it was this. I didn't take offense to maybe the effeminate side of it. I thought it was quite cool. Like I'm comfortable enough to say I love doing spin classes. And she's like, you should teach them. And that I remember that seed was planted. And I was like, I would like that.
How long after did you start teaching?
When I got to that was the first time I studied in France as an undergraduate, and I came back and I went to the gym and I asked the teacher there, like, what's the deal? How do I teach classes here? Because I had done enough, and I was like, I want to play my music now, dude. Tired of your music. And yeah, and then there was this, wow, that's a really cool story. There was a certification brand, I guess. They make a business out of certifying spin instructors. And they'd come by and
Anything and
yeah,
everything.
anything and everything. I didn't think about it like it was a business at that time. I was like, they're giving me this opportunity to learn. I'm going to go train. And they came around every weekend. And very few people know this, but this adorable, like 70-year-old Japanese woman who's about 5 feet tall comes in with so much energy. And there's probably 30 people in there from like going to train with her. Coco, I think was her name. And she brought the fire and she was there to teach, to like get us to know what we needed to know to pass the embodiment part of the exam and the written part of the exam. And I was like a deer in the headlights. I did my weight loss. I had a fantastic weight loss journey, but I had never studied anatomy. I had never
Mm.
studied biomechanics. I was still figuring out how to move in my body. I had running, like I was like, I can run, I could do the bike, do it on the bike. But she was like, show me a forward lunge. And I was like wobbling around and
Wow.
everything. And I failed. I failed the first exam of that. And it got me too. I was like, dang, I wanted that. And I saw that like the dream kind of like start to poof away like a cloud. And I
I have
had,
a similar story.
yeah.
Yeah. After.
Okay. Well, I mean, to cut that down, I just had the moment of like, do I want to follow through on this or do I just want to let it go? And something said, stay in it. And so she was teaching another workshop somewhere else in the state. And I went there and I took it again and I took the test and I passed it that time. And the
Mm.
next semester I was teaching spin classes and I loved it. I
Mm.
did love that was my first getting into group fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had failed the
I
first.
did. I don't know what the score was, but or the grade was, but they said we can't in good faith let you lead a group of people through a cardiovascular
Was
workout.
it like, if it was like the teaching or the test or like the
I think it
different
was the
parts?
test. I was
Okay.
such a deer in the headlights. I was like, and I signed up for it like the week before, so there was like study material. I could have come prepared. There was like a football game going on, and when I was in college, I love going to the football games. I was like, I think skipped maybe a portion of it, or it came in from
Wow.
the football game. I didn't have my priority. It was not like a high, but it was a very whimsical thing, and it was one of the first times I really followed my heart.
Mm.
Um, I love this
Mm-hmm.
as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
choosing for me, not what I thought would make mom and dad proud.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for asking that. It was fun to go down that.
Thanks for sharing. It reminded me of actually it was I think it was 2019 after I had graduated from CSUN with my bachelor's in psychology that yeah, it was very much in this like in between phase. And I would, in that time in my life, lift weights a lot. And people would ask me to train them. And I thought,
You
okay,
were ripped.
I was really ripped. And the plan initially was to do a master's in sports psychology, but I was the, dealing with my own mental health issues or just life. And then I decided to do. I was like, okay, this is kind of along the line. So I decided to do a personal training certification.
Hmm.
And for the life of me, like I loved doing the movement. I loved learning, but I could not sit my ass down to work or study this for this exam, the NASM,
Yeah, yeah,
national,
yeah.
yeah. And I was even already like training some people, and I had a couple of clients, and I didn't I paid for it, but I never completed it.
Mm.
Yeah, and that was one of the like that was before I did my yoga teacher certification. And going into the yoga teacher
Did you have the fear?
certification, I had the fear of like, well, it was also projected by like family and those around me of like, oh, we have this thing, like our family has these things that we start them and we don't finish, or you know, things like that. And I think that there's a lot in that of like, you got what you needed for one, and also like that wasn't true. I had completed a whole like bachelor's degree and
Right.
things, other things before that.
It's a matter of what you pay attention to, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll keep going.
I think that was it.
That was it.
That was the
Well, you brought that. Okay, so in what was it about? Like, do you think it was something to do with the mental health stuff that you had going on that you couldn't get down to it? Or did you already think like, I've got this, I'm training clients, why do I need to take the test? Was like a authority thing, or was it?
I don't know, but I can vividly see myself like sitting there and setting myself up like for success as much as I could in terms of like, you know, turning down other opportunities of like that I wanted to do, putting on the music, like making sure I was fed and like no distractions, and like sitting with my book
And it
and the
wasn't happening.
computer. And it just like, it was kind of like that WTF like moment of like,
I have
what?
so many of those moments as an engineer student.
But I think that a lot of people get stuck in that and create their identity around that of like, oh, I can't, I'm not good at this, or I don't finish things, or like,
Yeah.
you know, and then they will continue to beat their heads against the wall, like we're talking about, and be burnt out and not get to their fullest like expression, or get to like the next thing that comes for them, that is like the next step that they're being guided to, but they feel like they need to
Wow.
complete this thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's so close to the point of when I was an engineer, when I had the experience teaching group fitness, and I realized that I loved that, and I still wasn't able to give up. There was a pride factor for me. Like
Mm.
there's so much pride in, especially where I went to school, about being an engineer. And I did bang my head against the wall plenty.
Mm.
But I remember this, walking up the hill to the gym, and the thought pops in my head, and I was just like, I was thinking about physics, and I was thinking about uh, thermodynamics, like engineering stuff. And the thought popped into my head. I was like, you never liked any of this at any point. Like, what are you doing? But I
Mm-hmm.
was going to the gym to do something I loved,
Mm-hmm.
which was like move my body. So it was such a surprising thought to be aware of before I had an awareness practice. Like the thoughts that I was truly aware of were very few and far between. But that thought came in, and I was like, I'm not ready for you, thought. I'm not ready for you.
Wow.
Uh, but it was funny because I definitely put a mental note. I was like, that's interesting because it's true. It was like a truth. And then it came full force when I went to study a master's degree in engineering, and I was like, this is really, it's not only is it harder, it's more what I don't like to do, and I've
Mm.
only gone further towards doing the stuff I love to do. And I just it was truly about giving myself permission.
Mm-hmm.
That crossroads decision was about giving myself permission
Permission to,
to do what I love.
yeah. I wonder what the like correlation between people, what?
Well, please hold that thought. But the permission to do what I love and drop the story,
Yeah.
like forget about what people think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what is the correlation?
Mic
What were you
drop.
thinking? Yeah, mic drop.
The correlation between people doing things that, yeah, because they're caring about what other people think,
So much.
between and burnout.
Wow. You want to drop the mic? What's the correlation between people being out of, I would say, being out of their center is how I would say it now,
Alignment, yeah.
out of their alignment, not living in their dharma? I think it's 100% correlation and burnout. I do.
The lie detector test, it's like That is
I think it's a 100% correlation because I think that my soul wanted to be here and be a teacher, wanted to be here and be a guide or like a support
mm-hmm.
for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was learning how to take care of myself and get this temple right so I could help people with their. But there comes a point where it screams, and that could be called cancer. That could be called getting in a car accident. That could be called like there's so in the more metaphysical way of looking at it, there's so many things if you look at it and you actually chose to make the crossroads decision, you chose you, that you look at that moment and you're like, that happened for me. And I think that's the soul's way of saying, get your act together. We didn't come here for this.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
Yeah.
What would you, and this, we have this really squeaky chair, so sorry.
I don't think they'll hear it,
I
but
hope
we
not.
hear it.
Yeah.
You have to be extra still.
What would you, and that's a challenge. Yeah, as we start to wrap this up, like what can we say to somebody who's at that crossroads and who wants to learn and to cultivate the courage to begin to choose themselves more?
Embodiment. What is the you being in it of that thing? And can you create more of that? Can you get yourself with people who are
Mm.
embodying that
Mm-hmm.
at the next level? It doesn't have to be the highest level. It's just the next level. And it's the people that inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
I was so blessed to be easily inspired by the right people. There's something karmic about it, but I just know there were several people on my path that I was like,
I think if you look for it, it's there
yeah,
because you can. I remember being in, I think it's part of the taking responsibility and getting out of the victim mentality because, I mean,
yep,
I grew up in a neighborhood that it isn't like, in my opinion, isn't really set up for you to like succeed and get
get
out
out
of
of it.
there.
Yeah, truly,
Exactly.
truly.
And yeah, I could have sat there and kind of thrown a pity party. I mean, I have countless stories of like the statistics and or the events that like were there that were kind of like against me.
Hmm.
And um yeah, it's a matter of like looking. You're gonna find for what you look for. And if you
Yeah,
just are
truly.
like there's shitty people or there's like this is all there is, that's all you're gonna see. But if you're like looking for the good, looking for the inspiration, even in the simplest of things, like it's gonna come through.
Yeah, and let it take. Also, there is like an incubation.
Absolutely.
Let it take its time
Yeah.
to. That's so beautiful.
Like
And there,
soul blooms.
yeah, like soul blooms. There, it's the awareness that am I going to compromise to what feels comfortable or what I know and whatever
Mm-hmm.
the stories are around that.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the example of you staying with your family or me being staying an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I had spent 5 years, 4.5 years at that point, being indoctrined, essentially, or getting the reps of an identity of an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And the whispers were coming in and they were getting louder. It's like, this is not for you. But it was like, drop what you know and listen. Wow. Drop what you know and listen, what you think you know. So, on, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, you asked about what can we do for any of you in this place,
Crossroads.
crossroads, yeah,
Or burnt out.
or burnt out.
Yeah.
One, see that as its own magic moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's the part where like in society maybe my people might like wear that as a badge, but then there's also the other part where it's like yeah, maybe some like as a badge of honor and the other as a badge of like
dishonor or shame.
poorly or
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
and I need to get out of this really quickly.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, that I need to get out of this really quickly. It can
That's
be
more burnout. That's the
it's
burnout
it's
conditioning.
yeah, it's like the path is here, but it's like this in
Hmm.
every different direction. Stillness practice is so powerful. I mean, I know like that's the reason it's called a practice
Hmm.
to sit and be still, be with yourself, because then it's fascinating. Those voices get very loud very quick,
Hmm.
and then realizing we're not those voices.
Hmm.
But that's a whole other thing. Let's talk about the journey of we started this about creativity.
Yeah. So we went down some other
I loved it. I love
rabbit
this
holes.
conversation. For me, supporting somebody within their crossroads doesn't mean that they have to abandon what they've been doing.
Mm.
I've had so I mean I quit my I'm a testament to one way. Like I quit, I said I'm done, but then I enrolled in a biomechanics school. And the first part of that word is bio. The second part of that mechanics. I spent 5 years studying mechanical engineering. So I still had like I was still not that was 1 foot out. But it was a big foot because I was there to learn about the body and the bio stuff of it. So, but I've had clients who, a nurse is coming to my mind, or a head nurse, and she's in wellness, she's into wellness, and she's seeing that the experience of wellness is so starkly contrasted with the hospital floor.
Mm.
And it's like there's this dissonance. And when she started working with me, it was like, how do I get what's my escape route? I'm going to go be a coach. I'm going to, leave this system to burn to the ground. But 3 years, no, maybe 2 years later, she's in it and she's being the change in it. So I like that. That was a really powerful crossroads for her to choose to be the change inside the system, as an
And learning to
example.
tend to the creative fire, because if you don't tend to this creative fire, like then I think that that is what becomes burnt, like you
Burning
end up
out.
burning out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Like, tell me more. Tell me about the creative fire.
This passion,
Yeah.
this drive, and maybe you can enlighten us in the form of like the elemental wisdom, like a fire that isn't tend to, isn't contained, like it's gonna
The
destroy.
only the it's I mean every element, earth, water, fire, air, to look at the system or a modality of our experience of life, every element we can work with. It can be out of balance, it can be in balance, it can be overexpressed, it can be underexpressed. But the fire is particularly special because it's like this bridge. In the Greek origin story, Zeus, god of all gods, told Prometheus, "Do not give humans fire, because then they will think that they're the same as us."
Mm.
And we got fire, but we're learning how to handle that fire, and that's therein lies the part of my human journey is learning what to do with that fire.
Mm-hmm.
If I put too much, so the fire's going, and if I put a big, huge tree trunk on it, it's going to go out. It's like too much.
Mm-hmm.
But if,
That's like putting more on your
yeah,
load,
putting
like
more,
not
it's like put some logs on there, grow it slowly,
Mm-hmm.
steady. But in this era of this is another very important thing in this era of comparison
Mm.
where it's so easy to see what other people are doing and compare
Mm-hmm.
and want what they have, what you think that they have, and project onto them. It's so easy to just be like, well, the rational mind goes, they're doing this, I'm going to jump and do that, and then realize that there's something different going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's they've probably tended their fire, whereas you just jumped in and threw a log on it,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yeah, you said something the other day when we were talking about comparison and about what's for you. Um, but one we know, infamous or not infamous, Brene Brown
Yeah.
shares comparison. I think it's her who shares comparison is the greatest thief of joy, or is it somebody else before
I
her?
I don't know, but I know Brene Brown probably said comparison is a thief of joy, but I know that it's true.
And we also know the adage of like, what's for you will not go by you. And you were saying, then you said something differently that I thought like really hit. I don't know
Oh
if you
Lord, I
remember.
don't remember.
What's for you?
It'll keep knocking.
Yeah.
Something it could be something like that.
No, like what's no one has what you want
Right.
because no one is you or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly it. Nobody has what you want
Mm-hmm.
because they're not you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has what you want. So you got to figure out what you want, though. That's
Yes.
the excavation.
Yeah. I think
That's
that's
a
a
good
good,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
How are you tending your fire?
mm-hmm. And if you're at a crossroads
Yeah, go for it.
and would like to know, get clear and support on what it is that you want, would you like to?
We feel and know from experience we have a gift at supporting others in their e- era of crossroads and
Transformation.
transformation.
Yeah. Which is also fire,
Yeah, it
related
is.
fire.
Yeah, the element of transformation. And one of the things is I used to think I had to know what I still feel like that sometimes. I have to know what I'm doing, or I have to be seen knowing what I'm doing. Whereas the juiciest chapters of my life have been where I really gave myself permission to be in that transition and hold myself in that transition. And that's what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
We're holding folks in transition who want to come to Portugal and experience the magic of where we live. And the experience is called Soul Bloom. So we're working with individuals or couples too. So it's very curated to you. And that's what I love about it because we get to know, in the past participants from last year, which is our first year, we got to know them so deeply and to see
Mm-hmm.
where like how the experience unraveled for them and where they've kept going. It's been really special.
Definitely. And with that, it like I think that we often associate like a transition or an in between phase as this like kind of tower moment where everything's like up
Yeah.
in the air. That also isn't the case if somebody isn't that. Like I think it's also very powerful. Like we're in the middle of summer. Most people are traveling, sometimes traveling to escape their life and then to going back to the same old, same old.
And then they need a vacation because
Yeah.
they went and did a vacation that wasn't nourishing to them and they felt exhausted and they go back and it's Monday at work and it's like, oh, I need a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
This is completely different than that.
Yeah, it's a portal really.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave description or
Link to
more.
that in the bio.
Yes,
Well, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
take it.
We'll leave information about Soul Bloom in the bio. Please introduce yourself, and if you have any Crossroads stories that you'd like to share in the comments, it's super cool to see that too. For you to own that, and for others to see that we're all having this human experience. So please pop that into the comments, like and subscribe. Give us that love. We definitely receive it, and
Share with someone who you think will
yeah, share with
benefit from
somebody.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you again in the next one.